Well, hey, tubers, tubettes, various crazy people. I'm with my buddy Mark once again from Every Man Has a Story. Every month, Mark and I make sure we get together and have a little tete-a-tete. And we thought we would talk today because both of our channels, I think mostly on Jen's channel, has been some house tours that we've been doing.
Yeah, it's a new thing.
It's a new thing. And so what we thought we'd chat with you guys a little bit about is the process involved when looking for a house or an apartment and what to look for. And how do you do it? I have guys ask me every now and then, hey, how do I find a place? And my answer is, I guess my sage answer would be, just stay in a hotel, rent a bike until you actually physically find one.
Yeah, there's no Craigslist here, which back in America is really useful for those things.
And what do you think about the internet pictures that are online?
Well, they're okay, but there's never enough of them. And also what they do is, like, once a place is rented, they don't take it off the market.
Right.
So you think when you found one you like, and then you go there and it's not available. So you have to actually speak to someone or message them to make sure it's really available.
Right. The house that I'm renting right now, that I'm very happy with, did not even have a for rent sign in front of it. I would just happen to, and I've driven by it 50 times because I go up to a place, May and I go up to the Japanese shrine, that's one of the roads to go there. We go up to Casawara Falls sometimes just to hang out, the Shinton Ridge. There's a number of little places up that road. And so maybe 25, 35, 50 times we've driven by this house and there was no sign, there was no indication that it was for rent. I just happened to bump into a guy that lived up there, and he had seen on a previous video that I'd done that I was looking to move and I was looking for a 2-bedroom, and he says, well, I know 2 places right down the road from me. And what do you know? He took me to that house. It was owned by a Filipino, and I guess they didn't have it on the internet, they didn't have it a sign up front. Why it was the best kept secret in town, I'll never know. But that's how we found it, was via word of mouth. For a guy that's just getting off the plane, you're not gonna have that luxury because you won't have the people, the connections, and the friends that circle yet that you establish over time here. So I found that for me, I did it all wrong. One time I rented a trike, and I had the trike driver drive me around, and this is like my first week in Dumaguete. And he was taking me to places that he thought was nice, and it had absolutely nothing to do with my criteria. And the language barrier was almost unsurmountable. He was the sweetest guy ever. He's still a friend, and but we didn't get the job done. So what I ended up doing was, then I went to the internet and found that, like Mark just said, I would drive these places, I would call the numbers, usually not get an answer, but I would figure out where it is. No place out here has an address.
Yeah, there's no address.
There's no 123 Maple Street out here. You're just kind of near the pig farm, and you make a left at the...
And it's not like in England where the house has a name or anything. It's just like nothing.
No, it's nothing.
Yeah.
So you're really on an Easter egg hunt. So it can be a very long, laborious process. So the only thing that I found that worked for me was I rented a motorbike, and I got temporary lodgings at a place called the Hermagina, and I ended up staying there 6 weeks. I did not care for the Hermagina, but that's neither here nor there. I knew I wanted to move. And it took me over a month of just driving. I figured out where I wanted to go, first of all, and that was up in Valencia. I'd already made my mind up. I didn't want to go on the beach side, I didn't want to go here, I didn't want to go there, for various reasons. And one day, just being diligent, driving around, a sign did pop up on my very first apartment. And I ended up staying there for 2 years. It's called Highland Villas. And I really enjoyed my time there. I had a great landlord. I still have a nice relationship with them. Things changed, and I decided to move during the COVID deal. And then I went up to Big Rock. How did I find Big Rock? I found it from this guy over here. He said, hey, I'm going to go look at some apartments.
Yeah.
You want to come with me? And so him and I went up together, and we looked, and like 3 or 4 other guys
Yeah.
came up after we went up there. And then the dynamic there changed, so we made a move. He came here to the beach, where I'm at his house right now. And then Baby May and I, we were hunting around. We got the word out, if you will, and that's how we found our little house. And our primary goal was privacy and noise reduction and all that kind of stuff, but primarily privacy. So that's one element of it. The other thing that I'm very now cognizant of is that you really don't know the place until you've lived there for a month.
That's so true.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And Big Rock is a big example of that, because we moved in and we found out there's a church on the other side of the wall that has very loud music all day on Sunday, and also they practice on Saturday nights. And then they were doing band practice there for a while, so they put a stop to that, but there was all this noise we didn't even know about.
There's just things that are out of your control.
Yeah.
And you could have the greatest landlord, you could have the greatest neighbors, but there can be some extenuating circumstances that just finally you say enough is enough, I've got to go. And one of the biggest things for me over there was the road in.
Yeah.
You dropped your bike, I think, twice.
Yeah,
I
I did.
dropped mine once, and it was just too slippery and just too dangerous.
And then you hit that rock that time with you and me.
I hit the
Yeah.
rock, and it knocked my whole fuel
Messed your bike
injection
up.
out. So anyway, that being said, it's okay, but I've always been cognizant not to sign any kind of long-term lease anywhere.
Yeah.
Because if you want to get out, honest to God, you won't know. I won't know. I didn't know for a month what was wrong with my house, and I have found things wrong with it. None of them are deal breakers, but there'll be stuff like water pressure, you know, that maybe you didn't check properly or you didn't think about it.
That's a big one here, water pressure.
Yeah. And you know what? Me knowing what I know, knowing that I should have checked it, didn't. And I had low water pressure. Well, the good news is the landlord made an adjustment, and now we've got water pressure, and we can take a shower and all that good stuff. I do have a karaoke guy that's across the street from me. He wasn't there the first month or two that we were living there, so it was blissful. But now he's fired it up, and it's getting disturbing. So as much
Every
as,
day or what?
well, it just depends. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
How late does he go?
The deal is with him is he runs about from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So, but that's the time that May and I are always home.
Yeah.
Because we're not night creatures at all. And I like to sit outside. Now I can go inside and shut the front door, and I can turn on some music, and I don't hear him. I still resent it though.
Yeah, I
you
would
know,
too.
I want to sit outside. Or there's been days where I've planned to make a video sitting on my goofy couch with the stupid chicken behind me, and I can't do it because he's still permeating. You know, I don't have any music on.
That's what was happening to me at Big Rock, the same thing. You know,
The noise.
I used to film outside, and the mountains behind me, and beautiful scenery, nice and quiet, and some neighbors moved in, and they decided to go to the pool at the exact same time. The
Right.
light was perfect.
Right.
And they're screaming down there and partying and playing their
Right.
music, and that just killed it for me. I couldn't even film anymore.
There's a lot of dynamics when you're looking at a house, and I don't pretend to have the perfect plan or the perfect program. But what I found is, for my own protection, I signed a 6-month lease at the place I'm at, and we've been there 4 or 5 months. So if we needed to move next month, no big deal. I don't like giving big security deposits. 1 month is fair.
Yeah.
And I felt that I needed to be able to walk away from that because it depends on who you're dealing with. Some landlords will change the rules when you leave. And I guess it's just common sense advice. You may as well kiss your money goodbye. They don't have to give it back to you. And they have the advantage because they're locals and they've got the money. And here, 90% of the law is possession, right? If you have it, 90% of it's yours.
So I kind of prefer to rent from a foreigner.
Yeah.
You know, every place I've lived has been a foreigner owned. Like The first place I lived, Dulce Vita, when I moved out of there, I gave them notice. The place was clean when I moved out, and they came back and they gave me all my money back, you know, and we still have a nice relationship. Same place at Big Rock, got all my money back, and
Right.
I'm sure if I ever moved out here, I'd get everything back too, so.
Too.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
So I think it takes that month to figure out what may be wrong with the place itself, just the mechanics of it. You know, does this work? Does this outlet work? How hot does it get? Does it face the sun? And as much due diligence as you put into it, you can still make a mistake. And so I've always said, you know what, May, we got to be prepared. And I already told her, I said, this karaoke guy is starting to get on my nerves. So let's start looking. And we are. So we'll see where that leads.
Yeah, furnished versus unfurnished. Like I prefer furnished. I don't want to be buying a bunch of furniture, so I always look for a place that's furnished. And I'm lucky that this place was, you know, pretty much furnished when I moved in.
Furnished makes it really simple, even though moving furniture is stupid cheap. Labor out here is just stupid cheap. I don't think it cost us more than $35
Yeah.
to move all of our crap out of Big Rock into the house.
Yeah,
And we used the same guy.
Yeah.
Didn't we? Yeah, so it wasn't a big deal. But there is that you may want to move to another island. And now do you really want to be lugging couches and refrigerators and all that kind of stuff? So I'm kind of 50-50 on the furnished part. And one part, if it's comfortable furniture, yes, by all means, go for it. But if it's a chair and a couch that I can't sit in, like it was at Hermangina, it was like made for 5-year-olds, you know, it was like this big. It was totally uncomfortable. Internet speed, you have to check that. I recently had a friend of mine that rented a place, and he just got visited by PLDT, the marshal, if you will, and they told him, we're going to disconnect your internet. And he said, why? And they said, because it's in here illegally. And they said, who installed it? And he said, well, you guys did. And what had happened was PLDT showed up to install his internet when he ordered it, and they told him, well, we don't have any slots available. And he goes, well, what do I do? And they said, well, we can find you a slot. But, so he gave him a couple thousand pesos because he got the idea of what they were talking about. And magically, he had internet the next day. Turns out that they had run a wire down to another box that wasn't anywhere close to being legal and belonged to someone else. And they came out and disconnected it. So, these are little things that can and do happen. Again, due diligence is on you. What else as far as renting? You like furnished? I kind of like furnished. I like to have refrigerators and all that kind of stuff. I did ink up for a sofa of my own because I couldn't find one that was comfortable. We did buy a freezer just in case we ran into a brownout, but a quarantine. You know, we had plenty of food stored. And then of course, we bought a brand new mattress. We didn't want to inherit somebody else's mattress. So,
How about a TV? Did you get Mayor TV?
I never bought a TV. No. She offered to buy one, and I said, no, I don't want one.
You
I
need
don't
a
want one in
TV.
the house. Some people need it. I just found that it's,
It's our entertainment during COVID, because I download movies. We watch movies almost every night, you know. And
yeah. I'm just finding that I'm doing more. May doesn't watch TV, number one. The only reason she wanted a TV a little bit was so she could watch her own YouTube channel.
well, we don't watch TV like we do back in America. We watch all the different shows. Like we just watch a movie, you know.
Right. No, I get it.
We download a lot of stuff on Netflix, so like anything on Netflix, I can find it on my phone and download it. So we watched the whole series, like one's called Manifest, one's called Arrow. We watch. It's like it's been on TV for 5 years.
Right.
We'll watch like 3 years worth and get bored with it.
Right. No, it's I'll probably break down one of these days, simply because we get rained in, sometimes for 3 days in a row. I just drive a scooter. I don't have a car, and so if it's monsoon season like it is right now, where we've been getting rained to death, sometimes we're kind of like hostage in our own home. Hence the freezer filled with food. So anyway, I think the best way to find an apartment is just good old-fashioned boots on the ground. drive around, figure out kind of narrow your circle.
There's Facebook Marketplace. That
Yes.
works for me. That's where I found this place.
Yes,
Down on Facebook.
there are some expat groups, he's right, on Facebook that have got a lot more update content. And so you'll go out and look at the place, and then you've got to take your pluses and your minuses there. The bottom line is it's just not like back at home,
No.
where you can get online and you're going to see probably some professionally done current pictures. The rent will be clearly stated, the terms are clearly stated, the location is easy to find because you can Google it, it's got an address. You can do some history on the house, of course go by and look at it, talk to the owner or the management company, and go from there. We're out here, all that stuff that I just mentioned is pretty much out the window.
The good news is though, because of COVID, there's a lot of choices.
That's
there's-
another thing.
There's a lot of houses. The places that I lived, Dulce Vita and Big Rock is empty now. You told me that the other day.
Yeah, I got like one guy.
We had to snap ours up right away when we first saw that place because
That's
everybody
right.
was moving in.
Right,
And the same thing with Dulce Vita. It used to be a waiting list to get in there. Now they've got all these apartments empty.
right.
And so if you do come here, in the next month or two when things open up, you're one of the first guys here. You have a wide choice of things to look for, your houses, apartments, whatever you want.
I agree with that 1,000%. And you know what? I got to thinking after I did a couple of videos, if I do another house tour, if somebody else says, hey, I got this place for rent, why don't you show it on your channel? I'm going to put a disclaimer on there that the rent that they're asking are COVID prices. What you're seeing right now that I paid $400 for should go for $500. I've done a couple of tours of some other houses that are just super, super inexpensive because something's better than nothing. And a foreigner will have that attitude, cash flow, where a Filipino may just want to hold out for top dollar.
Yeah, Filipinos do not like to negotiate or
No.
anything. Like they set a price on what they think something's worth, whether they're selling a motorbike or whatever.
Right.
And that's the price. They won't change. They won't negotiate.
That's right.
Same in stores here. Like if you're in Mexico or America, you can negotiate, just about anything.
Right.
But not so here.
No. They would rather let it sit empty for a year at $20,000 than let somebody live there for a year at $10,000.
Right.
And take the cash flow. One quick story is I have a friend named Stan who went to an apartment complex that had 12 empty units, and it was right what he wanted, and it was perfect. And I forget the number, but we'll say it was 15,000. Single guy, just needed a simple place. It fit the bill. He would have been the only tenant in there, and the listing price was 15,000. He offered the guy 12,000, and he said, "I'll pay you 1 year in advance."
Wow.
And the guy declined it. He says, "No, I want the 15,000." And he would have. What would happen? He would have a tenant in there that just gave him a bucket full of money for one thing, and number two, that tenant, he didn't think ahead. The tenant might have a friend
Yeah, his
and
friend
say,
is
"Hey,
going to
I'm
visit."
living here.
Yeah.
You guys should snap one of these things up," and he could fill the place.
That's what happened. You and I moved into Big Rock.
That's what happened when him and I moved
And
into
guess
Big
what?
Rock.
When we moved out,
Everybody left out.
they did. It's a true story. They're all gone. All our friends are gone, except for
Yeah.
Joe's still there, but he'll probably leave it soon.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
That's how it went. So, everybody found the same discrepancies, over a period of time. A lot of it was noise, a lot of it was the road, some of it was chismis, some of it was this, some of it was that. So,
One thing about going back to apartments is that if you are fortunate enough to come here and make some friends, like I met Paul when I first came here, and your friends live in an apartment, he can recommend, say, yeah, I live here, and it's great, I'm happy with it, everything's good, and you can take his recommendation. So you move in there, then you've also got a neighbor who you know, and that's always a good way to do it too. If you have friends who can recommend places and they're living already in an apartment, that's good. That's how a lot of people moved in Dulce Vita or to Big Rock.
right. And there's places that you can rent. I would go low bar. I wouldn't go up anything really expensive. I wouldn't pay a big security deposit. And I would make it my campground for 2 or 3 months to get out of a hotel and stop paying those prices and continue the search.
Yeah.
I'm always looking. Even when I'm happy, if I see a for sale, or not for sale, but for rent sign on a place, I'll make a mental note of it. Or I'll pull over and kind of snoop over the fence and take a look at it, because you never know. Not necessarily for me, but one of my buddies might call me up and say, man, I can't stand it where I'm living. Can you know of any places? And I can say, well, you can try this place.
One other idea is Airbnb. I got a friend of mine who found his place on Airbnb, and the good thing about Airbnb, there's no security deposit. You don't have to pay for electricity, you don't have to pay for water, all that's included in whatever you're paying.
Yeah.
And he found a nice place with a pool, furnished and everything, and it's got the pots, the pans, everything you need, linens, it's all there. And so especially if it's your first place. And then what happened is under the table, he said the place hadn't been rented in months. And because these Airbnbs, there's nobody renting them. So many of them sitting around empty. He said, like, I'll cut a deal with you, I'll pay you so much money a month and stay here for the next 6 months or a year. He's been there for a year and a half, so he's paying a really low rent. Everything's included. He can leave his AC on as long as he wants. You have to worry about paying that, and everything's included.
Right.
And so you might want to consider looking at an Airbnb first, and there's so many of them around here.
So anyway, I think that's good information. I've never used Airbnb.
Go, I have. They're great.
Okay.
Yeah, I've used them. It's really easy, and if something's wrong, you get your money back. You know, you get a discount.
Yeah.
It's like the one I stayed in Miami. It showed a swimming pool, but the swimming pool was drained.
Right.
And I said, I complained, I said, hey, this is supposed to have a swimming pool. And they shaved off it was like $500, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it was good.
All right. But what I want to emphasize, guys, is when you're seeing these videos right now of on my channel, another guy's channel, another girl's channel, whatever, these are COVID prices.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to go up. And so if you're working on your budget and you're trying to plan on it, and you say, oh, well, Paul lives here for this much and Mark lives there for that much, those are COVID prices. They will increase.
Yeah, and
they are going to
inflation,
go up.
Philippines is not immune from inflation. Prices are
No.
going up on things here too.
Yes, they
on
are.
food, on gas, on various things.
All right, well, I hope you're all sufficiently crapped out from that, listening to all this bad news. Anyway, thanks for coming on the channel.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, crazy people. We'll see you next time.
Bye.